Media. As consumers, we are bombarded by it at every turn, like the Incredible Hulk being bombarded by gamma rays. But what makes some media endure, while others are banished to the forgotten black hole of obscurity, never to be heard from again? Who or what decides this? Hetero life mates Steve and Yahel want to know, and they want to know now. This is Obscurity Now. What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Obscurity Now, the show that takes a look at weird and almost completely forgotten pieces of media, be it movie, TV, comics. Maybe someday we'll read a book, and then we decide whether it should be tossed into the black hole of obscurity, never to be heard from again, or remembered until, I don't know, humans become extinct, which, have you been watching the news lately? It could be any day now. Anyway, my name is Steve, and with me is my co-host,
Yahel. And how are you doing, Steve?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing great, Steve. How are you? Much? Sorry, I forgot how the setup was. Well, you know me, Steve. I'm doing great. I'm like no matter how many times you try to flush me, I just cling to the wall.
You are that
turn on a toilet.
You are that type of guy.
Yeah.
I figured I'd let you have it this time around, but But anyway,
it was a mistake. You should have done it. It was a mistake.
Well, much like the first time we tried this, but pretend I didn't say that part. Anyway, if you're wondering what we're babbling about, we are babbling about the 1998 Fox TV superhero Marvel Cinematic Universe masterpiece, Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., starring the one and only David Hasselhoff. What did you think of the Hoff's performance in this, or are we just getting too far ahead of ourselves?
I mean, we probably are getting a little far ahead of ourselves, but honestly, it was better than I expected, and I expected it to be pretty fun. Because it's David Hasselhoff, and he's a ham.
Right,
you know?
right. I think he's one of the few saving graces about this. But before we get too far into the film, what is your experience with the Nick Fury comic book character from Marvel? Any opinion, any history at all there?
I mean, for me, he was always just kind of a guy that showed up, like, in the comics that I read, at least. I didn't read any comics where he was like a regular monthly character. So he would just kind of show up sometimes in the storylines that I would read, and he'd be like, hey, this is happening. And it was always like, at least how I remember it, was like he'd be like butting in on the X-Men's plan or something.
Sure.
You know,
I remember
this is now a Nick Fury S.H.I.E.L.D. operation, and blah, blah, blah.
Right. Yeah. In the 90s, everyone was against authority, including S.H.I.E.L.D. I remember, did you ever have that Wolverine Top Secret comic with like the gashes? I remember there's a really cool, I think that's actually drawn by Jim Lee. There's like a really cool scene where for some reason Wolverine infiltrates the S.H.I.E.L.D. helicarrier, and there's a cool standoff between him and Nick Fury, but
David Hasselhoff. Oh,
well, that was before we knew he was inevitably going to become David Hasselhoff, and then somehow morph into Samuel L. Jackson. But we're going to explain how that happened in a second. But I don't know. I think I'm with you. It seems like in the 90s there wasn't a lot of. I don't know. I don't even know if there was like a Nick Fury monthly or weekly title going on. Like, I thought he was a pretty cool character. I remember I actually read the like the issue where he becomes like a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent is a Strange Tales number 135, and I had like a reprint of that, and I was a huge James Bond fan, and to me it was just like, oh well, he's the Marvel version of James Bond, but he wasn't always like that. So let's just take a quick look at the history of the original Nick Fury. He was created by writer-artist Jack Kirby and writer Stan Lee, and he first appeared in Sergeant Fury in his Howling Commandos #1 all the way back in May of 1963. and that was when it was World War II. It was basically a war book, and he led the Howling Commandos to fight against the Nazis or whoever at that time.
As you do.
Yes, as you do. And but yeah, like he was still Nick Fury. He always had the cigar, and I guess, I don't know, that book sort of ran its course. And then he appeared once again in Fantastic Four number 21 in December of 1963 as a CIA agent. And then they reworked him to be the head of S.H.I.E.L.D. And that's basically where he became that version of Nick Fury, the one that we see portrayed expertly by David Hasselhoff in this film. But if you want to go just a little bit further, and you might be asking yourself, well, how did he go from David Hasselhoff to Samuel L. Jackson? And it's pretty simple. Basically, do you remember the Ultimate comic books in the?
Sure do.
Yeah, well, like when
They were very successful for a while.
they were, and for some reason they killed. Like basically, when Disney built or bought Marvel Comics, they destroyed the Ultimates for whatever reason, killed them off.
But I think that would have happened anyway because like big event crossover things have been. I mean, they were always popular in comic books, but they've become like just so rampant. They occur all the time. I think it's inevitable that Marvel would have done a thing because isn't that what ends up happening? There's like a big event, and like the Ultimate Universe crosses in with some of the other universes, and then only like certain characters from each universe end up in the main 616.
Right. I mean, I think the only one that's successfully crossed over and stayed, as far as I could tell, is Miles Morales Spider-Man.
Yeah.
I mean,
and Nick Fury, right?
Well, see, here's the thing with that. Okay, so Samuel L. Jackson got cast as Nick Fury because he wanted a part, so they gave him that, and so they then created the Samuel L. Jackson Nick Fury for the Ultimate Universe. They then killed off the Ultimate Universe, so they're like, well, we've got a thing here. People who have never read a Marvel comic are going to come in and they're going to be like, why is Nick Fury white? He doesn't look like Samuel L. Jackson. Lo and behold, the creation of Nick Fury Jr., his son, who just happens to be African American. And then they just basically sort of swept old Nick Fury Sr. under the rug, kind of put him out to pasture. I remember some weird storyline where they said he was like some sort of weird cosmic assassin or something. I don't even know if that's even canon at this point. But yeah, so yeah, basically Nick Fury Jr. took over. And it's just like, did you ever see that movie Beer Fest? Like, it's a really it's really dumb. Like, they kill off one of the main characters, and then basically the same actor comes back like as that character's brother, and he's like, yeah, I'm his brother, but why don't you just call me Landfill? Because like that was his name. It's a dumb joke. He just
that's funny.
Just wore a hat. So it's like, you don't need to call me Nick Fury Jr. Just call me Nick Fury, and and then life goes on. So anyway, why don't we jump into the movie, unless you have anything else you'd like to add about the Nick Fury comic book character?
No. You ready to go through the cast?
Let me hit the bumper, and then we will jump into the movie.
I apologize.
Welcome to your feature presentation.
All right. There's a great picture of Samuel L. Jackson, Nick Fury already right off the bat. We've got our photo collage going here. There wasn't a lot of really great screen grabs that I could find on Google image searches for this film, so I put in some stuff from the comics as well. Anyway, let's jump into the IMDb here. As I said, Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. was released May 26th, 1998. So you said you've never seen this. Like, when it even came out, were you aware of it?
Nope. I heard about it like maybe mid 2000s, and I don't even know how I became aware of it. And I've always wanted to watch it, so I was actually like pretty excited to watch it. But yeah, I didn't I don't remember a single commercial or anything.
Well, I know I watched it, and I remember he even came on Conan to promote it, and he was all in on this. And I don't know if you read on the IMDb, but this is actually considered a backdoor pilot, just like Generation X was, for a possible show. But as you'll see, it just it didn't turn into that.
No, it did not.
But anyway, this is directed by Rod Hardy.
So is Rod Hardy yet another card-carrying member of the Porn Directors Union, as we continue to see? Or is he the long-lost brother of the Hardy boys?
Oh, man.
Or both?
Did you steal my jokes like out of my hard drive? But yeah, because that's what I was gonna say. I would, well, according to IMDb, it could be different on like porn IMDb, but yeah, Rod Hardy.
Yeah, Porn DB, I believe.
Yeah.
Industry term.
Rod Hardy is a Aussie director. He's still working today. Pretty much only works in TV, non-porn, from what I can tell. He's directed X-Files, Battlestar Galactica, the good one, the one that we used to love, Burn Notice, Jag, and a whole bunch of other stuff. So look out
Some
for
decent stuff there in his resume, actually.
Yeah, and he's got stuff coming down the pike. So look forward to more. Rod
stuff coming down. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, Rod Hardy is he's erect to work with you, I hear.
Yeah, I believe though he usually says that he's got more stuff coming down the rod.
No, nailed it.
So just I know he's sensitive about that.
Oh, he's sensitive, all right. So sensitive
Very
that he doesn't even like wearing a condom, I hear. He makes all those actors raw dogging. Anyway, this was surprisingly written by David Goyer. Are you familiar with his work?
No, I know the name, but didn't he do like something on Christopher Nolan's like Batman trilogy?
Oh yeah, I mean, arguably you could say that like David Goyer is kind of like the founding father of, I don't know, popular cinematic superhero stuff. But I wanted to make sure I got some of his less popular stuff on here. Apparently he wrote Kickboxer 2, so he can put that on his gravestone. But
Sure.
But in addition to that, he did the Blade trilogy, which he also directed Blade 3, which is awful. Anyone remember that one?
Is that the one with Triple H?
Yes, it's so bad. And notice there was never another Blade movie after that.
Yeah.
And he also wrote Batman Begins, The Dark Knight, Ghost Rider, Spirit of Vengeance, Man of Steel, Batman v Superman. But I kind of feel like, unless I'm mistaken, I don't know, his sort of like tone or style has kind of maybe seen its better days, but I'm sure he'll.
Yeah, this dude is all over the place with his writing, what he's written. Like, I don't know, to go from writing, like I also saw that he had written Dark City, which I love.
Oh, it's
Dark
a great
City.
movie, absolutely.
But like to go, like it's hard to believe that that's the same guy that wrote Kickboxer 2 and that also wrote Nick Fury.
Well,
Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D.
But hey, I thought the script was one of the stronger things with this, but we'll get there. This was executive produced by Stan Lee and A.V. Arad, because they executive produced all the Marvel stuff for Fox back in the day, and the production companies were this is a great one: Fury Productions Limited Partnership, National Studios Incorporated, 20th Century Fox Television, and Marvel Enterprises. And would you like to take the cast?
Sure. So of course we have the star of the show, David Hasselhoff. I mean, of course, he's been in a million things. I almost said Kit, Knight Rider, Baywatch Nights. If you're an adult into the sizzle,
we need to review that.
I think we do. And obviously you've got his music career, especially if you're German. You know what we're talking about.
Oh wait, that's Russian.
I asked my girlfriend, who's like 10 years younger than me, almost 11 years younger than me, if she knew who David Hasselhoff was, because she usually doesn't know who these people are. She goes, "Oh yeah, I know who he is." I was like, "Oh, well, what do you know him from? Knight Rider, Baywatch." And she goes, from the SpongeBob movie.
Oh, that's right. I forgot he was in that. Well, I would say that his last, like most like significant work was. Are you familiar with Kung Fury?
Yeah.
Did you see the music video that he?
Yes.
Oh, that was so good. And he really has an amazing voice. If you haven't heard David Hasselhoff sing, you should go check it out on YouTube right now.
Yeah, you're wasting your ears if you have not heard this man belt out a tune.
Right.
And you're wasting your eyes if you haven't seen any of his videos, because his videos are, I don't know if I'd say they're good, but they're always entertaining.
Well, the Kung Fury one certainly is.
And don't they call him Kung Fury a couple times in this movie, coincidentally?
Did they?
Some of the German people call him Kung Fury.
Colonel Fury is what they're calling him.
Oh, okay. Okay. I guess it was just hard for me.
That'd be really weird. Like, there's some time travel involved there.
Yeah. I guess I just had like Kung Fury in my head, because of the video, his music in it. I was just like, what is this? Anyways, we have Lisa Rinna, who she's been like she is very recognizable. She's been in a bunch of stuff. Like I think it's mostly like soap operas. But she's been in a bunch of stuff, a lot of small parts. But I'm gonna start going through the rest of these because you probably haven't heard of a lot of these other people. Sandra Hess, Neil Roberts, Gary Chalk. Sandra Hess plays the main villain, the Andrea Von Strucker / Viper.
Yep, which I mean, that's an actual villain in the comic, although she has green hair. I don't know why they didn't go that route, but I thought, I mean, I don't know if we should save it for later, but I thought she was pretty strong. She hammed it up real good, I thought. Yeah,
I thought she did a pretty good job, too. Her accent was a little
over the top. Oh, sure, they all were. Yeah.
Sometimes the accent, her German accent was good, sometimes not so good, but she was like really into it, and it seemed like she got it.
Yeah. Oh, sure.
I would say her and Hasselhoff are definitely some of the standouts. But she I think is one of the many people in this cast who are in Stargate. Oddly enough, like almost everybody except for David Hasselhoff and Lisa Rinna in this cast have been in Stargate SG-1.
Oh, the show. Oh yeah, gotcha.
Yeah, really weird. But anyways, Gary Chalk. Who cares? Tracy Waterhouse doesn't even get a picture on IMDb, even though she had a bunch of credits. I don't know why. Tom McBeath, he was Director General Jack Pincer. Ron Canada, who I know you're a big fan of his name.
What are you talking about,
But Ron Canada, he is a guy who has been in Babylon 5. But more importantly, Steve, he was in not one episode of Star Trek, not two, but three across 3 different series, 3 different characters.
Wow.
And that's where I know Mr. Canada from.
All right, wait for it.
Oh no! We've just entered another Star Trek connection.
Yeah, I think, didn't we talk about Ron?
He's been in tons of stuff, though.
We talked about Ron Canada before, haven't we?
Yeah, he was also a journalist, too. And he was like doing news stuff at the same time that he was acting, which is kind of, I don't know, a little odd. Yeah. But his character in this movie is weird because he's like the doctor, right? But he's also like a tech guy,
right? And then at the end, or when they go to talk to the president, he introduces himself as the head, like something that was like really high up. It's like they couldn't figure out exactly what he was a jack of all trades, basically.
Yeah.
But I will disagree with you on, I thought Gary Chalk as Timothy Dum Dum Dugan was actually pretty good, or at least solid compared to a lot of, and Dum Dum Dugan is actually a character from the comics. He's a Howling Commando. And you can actually see him in, you can see all the Howling Commandos in Captain America, the First Avenger, for anyone who cares. Continue.
Oh. I think the other kind of standout character was the guy that was playing the director of...
oh, you mean Mr. Burrell?
Yeah.
He was the typical 90s boss. And he even at the end, he goes out in the typical 90s boss way with a punch to the face.
Yeah, he was a hard ass, real
Yeah.
mean to Nick Fury.
Nobody respected him.
Yeah, and he's of course like a clueless moron.
Right.
But acts like he knows what's best.
Sure.
And he's the guy that they actually when Nick Fury sees him, he's like, "Oh, you surprised to see me?" And Nick Fury's like, "No, guys like you tend to cling to the wall no matter how many times you flush."
Yeah.
Which is like, that's not the first one-liner from Nick Fury, but it's one of the
best
ones that really, really hit.
Yeah, it's actually I usually don't expect like quality one-liners like this from David Goyer. There's actually on the, I guess, writer's commentary of Blade, he actually admits to, at least at that point in time, to not being good at dialogue. And I also remember the final line of Blade before he kills Deacon Frost. He says, some motherfuckers are always trying to ice skate uphill. And then he kills the guy, and it's like, what? But
like David Goyer just has had very specific and niche life experiences
right.
that he just tries to like put into dialogue.
You jerks are like the 31 flavors at Baskin Robbins. There's always a vanilla bean. I don't know. Like it's but yeah,
one short of 32.
Right. Yeah. I prefer Cold Stone, but no, it just goes on and on.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to David Goyer's like defense, like his dad did die trying to ice skate up a hill. So and obviously his dad was a motherfucker. His mom. So it makes sense.
Son, promise me you'll write a bunch of mediocre superhero movies. Are you frozen? What the heck? Why are you frozen? Oh my god.
Steve,
Are you there?
Now you're back.
Okay.
You froze all during that.
You froze too. Well, that's too bad because it was Academy Award winning stuff. But anyway, let's go ahead and finish up.
Speaking of David, just one thing about David Goyer.
Mm-hmm.
I did read that he thought the movie was not good, and that he did think though that David Hasselhoff was one of the few people in the cast that really got it. That it was meant to be kind of schlocky and hammy, and so he was really happy. He initially was unhappy when he heard that David Hasselhoff got cast, but in the end, he thought it was a great choice. And apparently, he wrote this like years before they made it.
Right, I could see that. So, like, he was good with one-liners, and then it went away, and then maybe somehow it came back. I don't know.
Maybe he was like, this style must not be working since it didn't get made or picked up.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and at certain angles, back to the casting of Hasselhoff, like he really does look like the original Nick Fury. If he added just a little bit of white on the sides, and especially now since he's older, I mean, I'm not thrilled with the whole multiverse thing that's going on with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but I really hope that like Doctor Strange ends up in an alternate, version where Hasselhoff is playing Nick Fury. That'd be great. I would fanboy out for that. I admit.
I mean, David Hasselhoff has already been in one of the MCU movies. Didn't he like play himself in Guardians of the Galaxy?
Yep. There you go.
Yeah. But Hasselhoff though is great, and I think like the one-liners. I mean, there's a lot of fun one-liners the way they're written, but Hasselhoff's delivery
so good,
really completes it.
Yeah, and
no matter how good the one-liner is or how bad it is, because there's a few that like are kind of like, what?
Sure.
He just delivers them like he like Shakespeare just gave him this dialogue to say. Like,
yeah, it's like Arnold Schwarzenegger quality one-liners. Absolutely. And
Hasselhoff, I never realized how big he is. He's a pretty big dude.
Yeah, he was the right guy to play Nick Fury.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. Like, there was, and this is jumping ahead a bit, like before he gets into like the, I guess typical Nick Fury outfit, like the dark blue pleathery thing. Like they have him wearing for some reason wearing like a blue shirt underneath like a a jacket, when they're doing all the spy stuff, like in the second act. And I don't know, I thought that was kind of an odd choice. I guess they were really trying to hammer home the blue, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, actually, there were a lot of odd costume choices, especially when we first see our two villains. I guess you could call them the Hydra brother and sister. They're like wearing some ridiculous stuff. But anyway, should we jump? I mean, we pretty much covered all the standouts in the cast, right?
Yeah. I think we can go to the synopsis.
Yeah. Oh, okay. What did I do with the synopsis? Here it is. Okay. Agents of the terrorist organization Hydra invade a S.H.I.E.L.D. facility, killing Clay Quartermain and reviving a cryogenically preserved Baron Wolfgang von Strucker. Nick Fury, retired and living in an abandoned mine shaft in the Yukon, is approached by S.H.I.E.L.D. agents to return to duty to take down Hydra, now led by the children of von Strucker, an old enemy of his. And that's basically it.
Yeah, it's that classic story of, fired government employee that goes to live in an abandoned mine shaft.
Sure. I mean, they're always so welcoming. I wish I lived in one.
Yeah.
But yeah, some interesting things, I guess, right off the bat is, like, of course, Nick Fury is the character, the original character, is around in World War II. In the comics, they explain that he and Cap like don't age. I mean, even though of course Cap fell into the ice and it kept him like cryogenically intact, but they still explain that they have some sort of some sort of serum in both of them that keeps them from aging. Obviously, they didn't want to deal with any of that stuff, so they made Nick Fury here, I guess, a relic of the Cold War, and it actually leads to a pretty good line when they're like, I guess we should jump into the sort of series of events here real quick. Like, so basically they ask Nick to come back to S.H.I.E.L.D. HQ, the British agent. I just call him Agent Brit. But what I love is that Nick Fury automatically attacks him before getting any kind of info from him or anything.
Right.
Yeah, but I mean, because that's what you do,
and
right?
The guy is like such a wide-eyed in
Right.
awe of Nick Fury. He's like smiling as he's getting beat up.
Yeah. Oh, that was like us getting tossed around by Bubba and Devon, right?
Yeah, for like maybe the first move.
Yeah, I just remember I was like, I got body slammed by Devon. Oh.
Once I got backdropped into the ropes, that my wide-eyed fascination with Bubba ended.
Yeah, I just remember like, am I gonna hit the light? Yeah, it's crazy. But yeah. So he's enjoying his ass beating at the hands of the legend Nick Fury. And but then he's like, "Oh, oi, I'm from S.H.I.E.L.D. and I'm British." He's like, "We need you to come back." And again, we get a decent line here from Nick where he's just like, you can tell S.H.I.E.L.D. to like cram it up their collective somethings. I don't think he says ass. It's all very cartoony for the most part. He says the word butt once.
Yeah.
But of course he ends up, after they say that Alan Quartermain or Clay Quartermain like died, then of course they end up going to S.H.I.E.L.D. HQ, where Fury is reunited with his former boss, the current head of S.H.I.E.L.D., Pincer, is it?
Yeah, I think so.
And and that's when you get your typical, it's like, we don't need people like you around here, Fury. And he's like, well, then why'd you call me back? Like, you obviously needed me because you called me back. And we're getting a lot of...
and to be clear, this guy didn't call him back. The president specifically asked for Nick Fury. And obviously the president of the United States up a little bit higher than Director Pincer.
I guess so. Let's see, 98. That would have been Clinton or Bush at that point.
I think it would have been Clinton.
I was like, he's in the middle of like playing a saxophone. He's like, "Hey, baby, can you get that Nick Fury guy on the phone?" Sorry, I haven't done a Clinton in a long time, and for good reason. But yeah. So basically, I mean, this is our Act One after the cold open. We get to see a lot of gadgets inside the Shield helicarrier, and they didn't even show a full shot of the Shield helicarrier at the beginning, did they?
Yeah, they. Oh no, not the helicarrier itself, just the plane that comes to
Right,
pick
the
him up,
thing
which
that brought him
looks
up
a little
there.
bit like a small helicarrier.
Right. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, if you've seen the Shield helicarrier in the like Avengers movies and stuff, you might not be that impressed with these effects.
Like I actually didn't think they were that bad.
Yeah, me either. I didn't think they were too bad. This is a $6 million TV movie,
Right.
actually. Yeah.
Which I don't know, is that a lot or like is that like I feel like it's a lot for a TV movie in 1998, but maybe not a lot of money for such an ambitious TV movie in 1998 because they have like a lot of pretty big sets. They build like a lot of like tech and gadgets.
And it's all analog. It's great.
Yeah,
I swear.
So, I mean,
yeah. At one point, it looked like they were talking into the monitor of like a discarded arcade game or something. But
right.
Awesome.
They found like some widescreen CRTs, turned them on their side.
Mm-hmm.
Which I was wondering too, like where they got those, because I mean, widescreen CRTs were a thing, but they weren't like easy to come by. So this is kind of odd, but
right.
But yeah, so I thought the special effects with those. Sorry to go on a tangent, but with those helicarriers and the ships and stuff, sometimes they looked better than others. But I like that they tried to do things to make them look better. Like whenever it was flying through clouds, they did a good job of obscuring it at the right time,
right?
The cloud and having a layer of transparency. So they clearly, whoever worked on the visual effects, cared.
Right. I would say that most people involved with this seem to care, for sure, especially David Hasselhoff.
Yeah.
That's him getting arrested right now. Hopefully not. But yeah, so we spend a lot of time on the helicarrier. We get to meet David Hasselhoff or Nick Fury's life model decoy, which I wonder if that's going to play into the story at all.
Can we talk about this life model decoy, Steve?
Sure, let's do it.
What did you think about how it looked?
I thought it looked like they made it even more buff than the actual David Hasselhoff. It was like some bodybuilder's body and then like his mask or his face on it. It was funny.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty funny too. But yeah, obviously it was something that was going to come back up. But like that's a thing in the comics that's been around forever. Life model decoys.
Oh, absolutely.
So honestly, like it's like I'll allow it.
Yeah, absolutely. And then he's also given his gun that only works when he uses it. I wonder if that's going to play into.
Someone's going to die because of that.
Right. Yeah. This is all very, sort of Escape from New York, which, I mean, the script is really a mix between Demolition Man and Escape from New York, I'd say. There's like a scene when they're in the elevator and the computer is giving Agent British guy like a hard time. And so Nick Fury just shoots it and it automatically works because this is that kind of movie. Yeah. I mean, and these are all sort of just tropes of like 90s sci-fi action movie stuff, which is okay. Right. I don't know. I chuckle at it. Someone might watch it and sort of roll their eyes at this point, but have fun with it. Why not? So basically we eventually, all right, we're on there for a while and they find out that they have to, and also I feel this is when the pace really kind of slows down for a while, which I feel is this movie's biggest flaw is that, I mean, it's weird because all the like energy and expediency is like there in the script, but somehow it still seems to drag for some reason. Like
it's because nothing happens for like 15, 20 minutes.
They had to like stretch it out. I mean, maybe they should have just done like an hour pilot instead of like a full-on TV movie. But anyway, this is what they decided to go with, and eventually they're hanging out inside, and a life model decoy of Pincer comes in. Is that, or am I getting too...
Yeah, you're way too far ahead.
Okay.
Before that, we do have Viper, like she calls all the world leaders.
That's what happens. Yes.
Yeah, and she like she calls like all of the evil world leaders from those other countries,
right? That aren't America.
That aren't American. Anyways, so she explains to them like that, her plan, which is basically, and this is part of what slowed the movie down. They explained that Nick Fury and everybody else figured out that they stole her dad's frozen body, the exit of Hydra. By the way, why were they keeping his body frozen? Who knows? Why were S.H.I.E.L.D. keeping his body frozen?
Yeah, dumb. So they could thaw him out later, and I don't know.
So dumb.
Yeah, but it is dumb.
Like there was some virus that he had created.
The Death's Head virus, yeah.
Right. And they were like, the world leaders were like, oh, this virus is too powerful. We can't come up with an antidote for it. We got to just kill the virus, eradicate it so nobody uses it. Fine, they do that. But naturally, some of it they said like merged with like the head of Hydra's DNA, which makes no sense, of course, but whatever. Nope. This is a world where you shoot an elevator and it takes you to your floor. So,
works for me every time.
So who's to say this wouldn't work? So anyways, Viper, she is going to extract the virus from her father's body and then, make copies of it and use that to poison all of Manhattan or something and kill 8 million Americans.
Right.
For the princely sum of $1 billion is going to be her ransom that she's going to demand from the United States government. But of course, even if she gets the money, she's still going to let off the virus.
Right, because she's evil.
Yeah. So anyways, that's like 15 minutes of the movie right there.
Right, yeah. There's a lot of explanation. Basically, S.H.I.E.L.D. helicarrier is used for exposition purposes. People just hang out on there and talk. And then we also get that with Hydra as well. So anyway, they go, and we're now in the second act territory. Nick goes on a little spy adventure with the psychic agent and Agent Britt.
Oh, yeah. We forgot that there's a psychic agent who's there mostly for comedic relief, oddly enough.
But she's pretty boring, though, as an actress, at least.
Well, basically, her quote-unquote comedic relief consists of somebody saying something and her going, I know you really care about X, and you don't have to be a psychic to tell.
Right. Oh, God, it was so bad. I mean, I enjoy cliche, but like that was just, I don't know. Yeah. It wasn't funny in the slightest. But anyway, so they go to, it's Viper in disguise. She is supposed to be an Interpol agent that has information about something. They meet up with her, and then they go, and finally we get some action. They start getting shot at, and they run into this tunnel and go through this holographic wall. That I guess it's a S.H.I.E.L.D. safe house or something, which that would happen in the comic at least. But then the Interpol agent is like, Nick, come and follow me over here. And he's like, well, what do you want? It's like, I want to make out right now. And he's like, we don't have time for this. And then basically it's Viper, and she ends up kissing him and giving him the Death's Head virus, basically.
No. She gives him a different virus.
It's
because remember, like later on, Ron Canada says that it's extracted from some frog that makes like the most lethal toxin.
Right, but I mean, I thought you said that it merged with her. Like, does she have the ability to give people different poisons?
Well, Ron Canada also says that she must have an immunity to it, and we can extract it from her. Actually, he says that this might have even been made in part with her like DNA, and we can use her blood to cure you.
Whew, so convoluted. But yes, she gives him some kind of a poison. And yeah, and this is very.
I do think we should point out why they were going to that safe house, which is that there's a scientist there that used to work for Hydra that, S.H.I.E.L.D. had.
Oh, yes, of course. Zola, who was a big player in the MCU, especially in the Captain America world. I think the last movie he was in was Winter Soldier, I think. And
I think so.
And he's really just at that point, he's just like a brain and a computer. And here you just get a Mr. Burns looking old man breathing out of a ventilator, which is equally horrifying. And
Viper wants to kidnap him back. Well, or I guess in her view, probably liberate him. But because she's going to need him to synthesize the virus that's in her dad, make copies, and then use that to poison the Americans.
The agent psychic tries to like read his mind, and what's in there but World War II stock footage. Which I thought
you don't need to be a psychic to know that.
Right. Of course. He's an old Nazi. Of course there's World War II footage in there.
Exactly.
By
the way, they do there's a lot of tropes in this movie. Like she kisses him and the point of poisoning him is to kill Nick Fury. And like it's weird because it kind of takes effect right away, or she shocks him first. She could just like stab him or shoot him right then and there. But instead she kisses him with this poison that's going to take, we find out like in a scene or two later, 48 hours to kill him. And it's not like he's going to be like tortured for these 48 hours and like, oh, that's why she's not killing him now, because she wants him to be in horrible pain for 2 days. No. He's just going to have a mild fever for like a day, and then it's at the very end of those 48 hours that he'd like lose motor skills or whatever.
Yeah, see, I was thinking about that, and like I wonder if they chose to go with that just so they could make things a little bit harder for Nick Fury, because otherwise he could punch and take out people like no problem because he's a super spy, like that's his thing. But if we see him struggling to do stuff, maybe we can relate to him a little bit more. Maybe I'm just reading too far into it.
But he doesn't really struggle too much throughout the movie. So.
Not to the end. He does seem to struggle pretty hard at the end. Yeah.
A little bit, yeah. But sorry, I interrupted you. Yes, so she poisons him and then?
And then they grab Zola and disappear into the night, more or less.
Hydra has Zola.
Yeah, and then they go back to the S.H.I.E.L.D. helicarrier, and of course, old man Pincer is just, oh, Fury, how could you let him go? Like, it's all his fault.
Right.
it's all
you did this you got poisoned on purpose.
Right. Yeah, it's all pretty laughable. I'm trying to find my my spy here. Let's see. They Fury and black hair lady agent, I don't remember her name, but I remember after he realizes he's poisoned, they have a little chat about their past failed romance. And that is one thing I can say about, again, the script, is that they did give Fury a slight character arc, which I give them props to. It's basically him just realizing at the end that maybe I do love this sexy agent woman. It just took me a while to like figure it. It took me getting poisoned to figure it out, but that's jumping too far ahead. And then this is the scene where the life model decoy of Pincer comes in, and this is good. This is so pulpy and like over the top, and it doesn't make any sense. Okay, because this life model decoy comes in, Nick Fury aims his gun at Pincer. Everybody ducks.
Real Pincer
ducks, and then
I think we should. Well, sorry, Steve, but we should set the scene. Like this model decoy comes in. He's in an elevator with a bunch of like other like people that work at S.H.I.E.L.D., including the real Pincer.
Right.
and this is a decoy of Pincer.
Right. And it's so stupid because so he tries to shoot it, the bullets just bounce off of him, its mouth opens up and it shoots out a holographic projection of Viper, and she tells them that the missiles in Manhattan with, I guess, the poison on it are going to go off unless they pay the $1 billion or whatever it is. And the thing with this is, if a robot just walk right into the S.H.I.E.L.D. helicarrier, why not just put a nuke in there and blow the whole thing up? Like,
exactly.
It's so
I don't get it either. I mean, and obviously the answer is, okay, well, then there'd be no show. Fine. But don't like create these scenarios where you leave the audience asking these kind of questions.
Well, it was the 90s, Yahel. Nobody asked these questions. Everyone was dumber back then. I guess. I don't know. Maybe. There weren't any super nerds like there are now.
People didn't know you could just take horse paste for everything back then. You know, people were just dumb.
That's a timely reference.
Yeah,
but yeah. So then the robot does blow up, doesn't it? It just sort of self-destructs.
He like has a very, what I would call, a mild explosion.
Yeah.
Like parts of him kind of go, but they're like little tiny explosions. Then he just kind of like catches on fire in a very controlled manner and kind of disintegrates.
Yeah, that way,
for his motherboard, apparently.
He was just there to deliver the message, not to hurt anyone or destroy the S.H.I.E.L.D. helicarrier in any way. And then
very considerate of Viper.
We're treated to another somewhat hilarious sort of one-liner where Pincer goes, "How did you know which one to shoot?" And Nick Fury's like, "I didn't."
And then Ron Canada sticks his head out and goes, "Oh."
Yeah. He does a lot of that, it seems like.
Yeah.
So
yeah, Steve, the lady that's like Nick Fury's love interest, I gotta read you her name because it's really long and I had written it down. Contessa Valentina Val de Allegro Fontaine.
Wow. I don't remember her from the comics, but good for her. That's quite a name. Yeah, I don't.
It's a long walk down the rod, as Rod Hardy would say.
I think her name was probably more interesting than her performance. It was pretty monotone, I'd say. So now basically we've set up the Act 3. And their two teams have to. Oh, did they have the meeting with the president after that?
Yeah, because Nick Fury already has been told you've got 48 hours to live. Maybe we can synthesize a serum from, Viper's blood. Oh, which, by the way, there's a great line from David Hasselhoff where he's like, "Well, I'm going to go after and get her blood or whatever." And they're like, "No, you can't. You're not going to be in any condition." And he's like, "Listen, I'm going to get her blood, even if I have to suck it right out of her neck. I'm going to get that vampire's blood, even if I have to suck it right out of her neck."
Yeah, that was good. The way he delivers those is just so good. Like,
we're doing no justice to Hasselhoff's delivery.
Right. That's what I miss about. I don't know. I guess. Like, why can't there be lines like that in like Marvel movies these days? But anyway, so where are we now?
So yeah, they meet with the president.
Of course, like the Pincer, he just wants to bomb everything. But Fury's like, no, we need two teams. Basically, Agent Contessa has to go after the bombs, and Fury, again, along with Agent British Guy and the psychic lady, have to go. Where exactly do they have to go again? They're trying to find the S.H.I.E.L.D. or the Hydra agents, right?
Yeah, they're trying to find the Hydra headquarters. While Agent, like you said, Contessa, she goes and she follows, tries to find the actual bombs, which are going to be missiles that launch the poison. And Nick Fury has like a good reason for not bombing them, because like the whole thing that Spencer wants to, the director wants to do, is like find out where Hydra is and bomb them. And he's like, well, they're going to see us coming, you idiot, and that's not going to do us any good. And that doesn't mean that we're going to be able to stop the poison just because we bombed their headquarters.
Right.
So basically, he embarrasses Spencer in front of the president.
Hmm. And then he goes, if anyone has any new ideas, you run them past me first. Like,
Yeah.
and all right, so yeah, Contessa goes after the missiles. Fury and his team, they infiltrate what they believe to be the Hydra hideout. And I remember there's supposed to be lasers that look pretty bad. They look
Yeah, honestly,
absolutely.
the worst visual effects in the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, I remember like fake lasers looking better in I don't know, like Mission Impossible episodes or something. But anyway,
Shockingly bad.
yeah, it
Visual
was.
effects.
And there's kind of a funny scene. I like this because it's actually a play on the old trope of they're like, oh look, there's one of the guards, and I think it's so weird that all the Hydra guards have like a blackout mask on. Like,
Right.
I don't know. I think that's like they're like, well, what can we get cheap? And it doesn't. I mean, it's sort of what they kind of look like in the comic, I guess, but done in the cheapest way possible.
Yeah, there's a lot of extras in this movie, especially
Mhm.
on the helicarrier. So I assume that like they did it that way because they were probably reusing some of those same
Oh,
people.
sure, the same stuntman over and over again.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, in a change of character, which kind of comes out of nowhere, I guess he wanted to impress Fury or something. Agent British guy is like, "Oh, I was the best at in class when it came to like I don't know
It was like
espionage or
he said like silent
infiltration."
killing.
Yeah, something
Silent kill.
like
He said
that.
he was head of his class in silent killing.
And this actually feels like one of those scenes that maybe kind of was filler because we have to wait for him to forever to sneak up on this guy, this lone guard. And when he finally does, he tries to give him the old James Bond like judo chop or Spock, whatever, to the
Kirk,
back.
yeah.
To the back of the neck, and it does absolutely nothing to him. And then, so the guard starts beating up Agent British guy, and then Nick Fury comes over and he tries to do it too, and it doesn't work for him either. So
And
he
does
just,
it with a gun.
so he just shoots him. He just shoots him. He goes,
And-
"Sorry, pal."
Yeah, after he shoots him, he's sorry.
Yeah, yeah. And I don't think the real Nick Fury would apologize, but it's whatever.
Steve, I don't think that was a real apology. I mean,
right.
he was like, sorry.
So yeah, they eventually get captured. At the same time, like the Contessa and her team, they're checking out some sort of van or something, and
Yeah, they're following what looks like a trash truck.
right. And this is when I can feel, I guess, the TV moviness of it all, because like the additional S.H.I.E.L.D. agents just look so bland, and there's only like a couple of them. It's not like impressive looking at all. You know what I mean? I guess in a cinematic sense, and I guess the whole thing's done in 4:3 anyway. And old Rod Harding, I mean, I imagine he's just kind of a we got to get this job done, and there's not a lot of cinematography, is what I'm trying to say, in the whole film, like, but especially here, and. Yeah, so they discover the missiles. There's a bit of action. Fury and his team, they end up getting captured and put in an ice box. Of course, why not just shoot him?
Yeah, you put him in an ice box.
In some ways, I can see why, like, the action movie kind of died because like they just used the same tropes over and over again.
Yeah,
and then along comes Austin Powers and makes fun of them all, and everyone's like, "Hey, those movies are stupid. We don't want them anymore." But you're just supposed to write a better movie anyway. And tell me if this makes sense or not. All right, so they're trying to figure out how to get out of this ice box, and they've already like completely patted down Fury and his team. Like he had like something hiding behind his eye patch or whatever, and she even got that. The Viper got that, but for some reason, beneath his like eye that he always has closed, you imagine, because it was damaged in the war. That's how Fury actually lost his eye. It wasn't scratched out by a cat. That's bullshit. There's a fake eye beneath the damaged eye?
Yeah, it was weird. Like he was hiding an eye behind his eye.
Yeah,
The eye
yeah.
patch. I guess like you said, like, maybe he just kept his eyelids closed somehow. And
Right.
but yeah, he pulls out a fake eye that he never uses for whatever reason. And it's basically just an explosive and uses it to blow up the door. I did think it was funny though that like while they were in the icebox, Nick Fury's like, she's so stupid. Before she put me in here, I had a high fever, but now I feel normal.
Yeah, I know. I thought that was like, who thought of that? Like, we don't
the
need
other
to.
two. So British guy and psychic lady,
Mhm.
they're like freezing to death, but like Nick Fury now can think normally and like he's feeling great.
So I'm gonna take out my fake eye, which is also an explosive, and use it to blow open the door. Which that's
What would have been a good thing to blow up the bad guys with before they captured him and put him in here.
Sure. I mean, I don't know. I think it would have been more impressive if he used his like spy prowess to like lockpick open the door or something, but I don't know. Whatever. We got a fake exploding eye. I mean, this is again, this is a movie where if you shoot your elevator, it takes you to the floor you want to go to. So it's okay. Anyway,
the movie was very clear up front that the rules of reality were not going to be followed.
Right, absolutely. Anyway, they make their way to Viper. He takes out some, they take out a lot of random S.H.I.E.L.D. agents along the way. They handcuff her to this. All right, there's like I guess it's an escape pod in the middle. Or first, there's her frozen father in the room, but then there's also like an escape pod. He handcuffs her to something, and then they get Lady